how did I make it? Started a company. Yeah, but we've been doing pretty well for the past 2 to 3 years. Um, yeah, I mean, you don't start a company and then hope to win an award. No, that comes as a byproduct of you, trying to do well and eventually getting somewhere. Yeah.
So tell our audience what you do exactly at Vetreska. This is a pet company. So do you have pets? Do you sell pet toys or pet food? What do you do exactly?
Yeah, we're a pet lifestyle brand. So it encompasses everything: pet food, pet toys, beds, scratches, whatever. Essentially, we view ourselves as like a women consumption brand. Pet is a medium for us to express all our creative ideas and stuff, because it's easier to see what women in China like, and then give it a spin and then create something for the pets and them to share or do together, use together. So essentially it creates joy for both the owner and the pet. So that's
but only for women or for men as well? For women?
85% of our customers are women, actually. So it's very female oriented, and our company is like 80% female.
Really? Wow. Donald, you are 29. I hope you don't mind me saying this, which is a great badge of honor. It's been a while since I was 29. It's an incredible accomplishment for you to come this far, right? 30 under 30. And it's got to be a competitive process. Let me ask you, when you were 19, you studied fashion at one of the best fashion universities in the world in New York. You wanted to be a fashion designer, right? How did you turn into pet? I mean, it's like, I love fashion. And I'm a woman. I'm your typical client. But I cannot possibly put fashion and pet together. How did you make that transition?
Actually, I started fashion merchandising. So essentially, I think that retail as a whole, it actually connects to each other. And what we believe here at Vetreska is that retail is actually a reflection of society. So we actually take what we see in society, like I said, what the Chinese women like, what does she like to eat, what does she like to use, and then we give it a spin and create something for our pets. So that's the main gist of it. Yeah, definitely. The whole team studied fashion. Actually, we met when we were in college, and we feel that
before you even graduated, you were studying Chinese women's consumer habits.
Yeah, I mean,
that's incredible.
The rest of my co-founders, they're Chinese women.
Did you grow up in New York?
No, I went to New York for college.
Okay.
I was from Singapore.
You do know the market. Oh, okay, so you do know the market. But I mean, to study the Chinese consumer when you were in college, I mean, were you thinking about starting a business of some sort at that point in time? Were you not thinking about something more fashion related? I mean, to go into pets, that's another world, right?
Yeah, actually, I worked as a buyer, and then after that, I worked as a planner at Roger Vivier, and then from then on, it was 2015. We decided that, hey, let's try to do something on our own. We're still young. Well, I was like 25, but at that point, and we were saying that the women around us, they are not getting married. They do not have boyfriends. They are more financially independent, or we are seeing more and more financially independent women. So we think that it will lead to a great wave of like a surge in women's consumption. And then we looked at the Chinese market and the US market at the point, and we felt like there's a greater volume and a greater capacity for growth in the Chinese market. And then because we had a dog and a cat which were adopted in New York, and we decided, hey, since we're spending so much on them, why don't we try to do something that we can capture the young Chinese women with? And that's how we started.
A dog or a cat is definitely more loyal and more faithful than a boyfriend. Donald, with COVID-19. I wonder how men all over the world are going to perceive this when they hear it. Now, in many, cities, of course, in China, the lockdown is being lifted, and you can let the dogs out again, right? You can go for walks. But how has COVID-19, the coronavirus, impacted your business? I guess having a pet is also a way to fight that loneliness and, fight against mental health problems as well.
Actually, I find that the Chinese they handled it exceptionally well. They were very disciplined during the lockdown, and after the lockdown, you start seeing recently a surge or a super surge in spending. Mm, I think it's too early to call it a trend or anything, but we start seeing that when lives have started returning to normalcy now, there's a sort of like a revenge spending sort of concept happening in China right now, where people are going out, they are partying, they are buying a lot of stuff that previously they weren't able to because of the lockdown, right? Actually, it's a little bit of the law of average, sort of catching up. There's like pent up expenditure that you didn't use in the past 2 months, and then suddenly in this 1 month in late March till now, you start spending a lot of it there, and because you're finally out and free in the city. And then in some cases, like for us, we are a bit luckier because it actually allowed us to have like a greater than expected Q1 for us. We were like 150% above projection.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
And what do your clients want to buy? Is it, pet sushi food or bed or pet jewelry? What do they want? Or manicure? I don't know.
Yeah. So let me explain slightly more. I was saying we look at what the Chinese women like, and then we create something for our pets, right? So for example, the Chinese millennials, they like having plants and cactuses at home. So we reimagine a cactus as a cat scratching post. So that's one of our best sellers. And the people like eating watermelons. The girls like eating watermelon in China, and then we imagine a watermelon as a cat litter box. So these stuff are selling out quickly, and last year there was a great rage for DIY hot pots. It's like instant noodles on steroids. Yes, in China. So we created like
You
a
actually
DIY
feed
hot pot.
Chinese, seriously, you feed the Chinese pets instant noodles. Do they eat green tea as well?
Yeah, well, see, sort of. We take elements of it, like green tea. We incorporate the green tea scent into cat litter. So this sort of stuff are very well accepted. So I was saying the hot pot, because the Chinese customers like eating DIY hot pots and hot pots in general. We created like a DIY hot pot for their cats,
Oh,
and it sold out like
this
crazy.
is so funny. So Donald, you are obviously a very inspirational and brilliant entrepreneur and at such a young age. So tell us, for many of the young, up and starting, I think it's everybody's ambition. They want to become somebody. At one point in their life. And for these aspiring young kids and young entrepreneurs, what are the best advice you can give to them? How do you become a successful entrepreneur? How do you even get started?
We got started because we decided to take that step forward. Get out of your comfort zone. It's really cheesy, but it worked for us. And
must have been
the best. I've
at some point in time, right?
I'm sorry. It was
very difficult at some point.
Yeah,
in time.
the start is definitely very difficult because roughly what you want to do, but you have no clear idea of how you're gonna go about doing it, whether it will work. So it takes patience and a bit of capital and a bit of trial and error. So for us, the lucky thing is that we knew we were gonna do pets, and my co-founder, she's in charge of products. She's a very creative person, and I'm in charge of sales and strategy. So the first thing I wanted to look at was cash flow for the company. So how do we go about doing creative products that are completely new to the market, yet maintain a decently healthy cash flow? So what we did differently from the other companies is we didn't go to the D2C model directly. We did the more traditional 2B model. We started looking for distributors across China in several cities and stuff, and trying to get an understanding of what they want within their product assortment and how we can fulfill that. And then from then on, we start incorporating more of our own original designs together with the stuff they want. So that got us our first start and the first sort of decent revenue within like 3 months of starting the company. Yeah.
So China's pet market, Donald, is of course booming. It's growing rapidly. What are your expansion plans? Maybe in China, and are you also planning to take the business outside of China?
We are in the US, Canada, Australia, Japan, Korea right now. Yeah, and our Amazon is doing pretty decently. We are in it was like Amazon's choice for our cactus cat scratcher. Yeah, so it's already going international. The thing is that the way we create our products is it revolves around a concept of super symbol. So a cactus, a cherry, a watermelon, it's easily recognizable internationally. You go anywhere in the world, whether it's Asia or Africa or US, that cactus, it's familiar and it's easily acceptable to all consumers. So for our products to go international, it's actually very easy. We don't have to do much adaptation to it. Yeah.
Very interesting. So, Donald, when you and your co-founder first started your very first business plan, what was the first line? What was the vision you set up for the company? And has that changed?
To be honest, we didn't have a vision back then. The whole idea revolved around, okay, how do we get women to buy into it? So she's being a very fashionable and creative and retail sensitive girl. She sort of get it. She understands what the customers want, and she tries to give it to them. Yeah. So that evolved into what we have today. Products that are very easily recognizable, very easily acceptable. You don't have to do any further market education to it, because once the humans themselves are already using it or they really like it. So if you give them a pet version, they will just gobble it up.
And it's really about KYC, huh? Know your customer, and that
exactly.
You know extremely well. You've done a lot of research into women's habits and preferences, right? Together with your co-founder.
I must say though, it's not aware to me that me as a category has been so much researched by young entrepreneurs. But, we just had a talk last week with Lu Gang, the founder of Arnault, and he said every Chinese startup company, their vision is to go IPO. It's a business market. Is it your vision to go IPO? And also, the moment you are so successful, there would be competitors, copycats. Any number of companies coming up to compete you, right? Do you have any genuine threats in the market? Do you see it?
I think that in this global market today, counterfeit is actually very normal. If you are being copycat or you're being mimicked, it's actually more of like a praise than anything else. We take it with a pinch of salt, and we think that all these products that we create, it essentially adds to the brand value that we are cultivating. So ultimately, the goal is for the brand to represent something, the brand to have value, right? So everything we do from late 2019 onwards, it's a brand oriented. So with these super symbols, so today in the Chinese market, if you ask around, or in the Chinese pet market, if you ask around, the cactus, it just represents Vetreska. Everybody looks at any cactus cat product and they think it's Vetreska's. Yeah. So I think in that way we are rather successful. And regarding the IPO, no, we did not start the company thinking we are going to IPO. It only we only began to think about it only after the investors started coming in, and then they pitched to us like, okay, at this point maybe we can think about it, or maybe, yeah.
Who are your main investors? Who are your main investors, Donald? Are they Chinese? Are they women as well, or a diverse kind of mixed bag?
IDG Capital, which is one of the biggest venture capitals in China, is our A round investor, and then SIG Susquehanna, which is one of the largest hedge funds in the States, is our latest round of investor. And then we had an angel investor called Galileo Ventures. So yeah, there's 3 rounds of venture capitalism.
That's wonderful. Just for A rounds to get IDG, that probably go all the way with you. But then tell us, how did you approach IDG? What does IDG mean to you, and what does your company mean to IDG? What do you think?
I can't remember. I think IDG approached us instead of us approaching them.
That's the wonderful.
That is a luxury.
How Chinese companies have to knock doors and
investors are coming.
Oh, what a lucky situation! So they approached you one day.
Yeah, IDG, they're very. they are very deeply rooted in the consumer market of China, and they have looked in depth in the Chinese pet market for a long time, and they have actually invested in a couple other Chinese pet companies before us. One is a big e-commerce channel. Another one is a big breeding channel. So, and then at that point in 2018, they're looking at pet brands that are coming up, and to them, I think that what we represent is an ability to transcend beyond pet products, which is easily a very low ceiling for small pet startup brands. So what the stuff that we are doing, it can actually manifest itself into human pet products that can be used together, and then from there we could use pet influencer IP and stuff and create human products. So it spans a plethora of possibilities. So at that point they decided that it's us.
So what is your dream? What is your plan for the future, Donald?
Actually, when we started, it goes back to women consumption, right? So when we started Vetreska, it was a medium for us to express our creative or design sense in an easier market. But ultimately, what we hope is we could create a portfolio of companies, a portfolio of brands that revolves around women consumption and stuff that women have no loyalty to, like maybe your jewelry, like maybe your sunglasses and stuff, you know. So once you have a synergy of these couple of brands or portfolio of brands, you could essentially make it corporatized. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. So IPO or not, we are moving towards that direction beginning this year.
And you know what? I think it's time for Shirley and I to get a dog or a cat as well.
A cat is easier.
I find, do you have pets, Donald?
Yeah, 4 dogs and 2 cats.
Oh, Donald.
4 dogs and 2 cats.
No wonder you know it so well. So Donald, the Forbes 30 under 30. I know a couple of months ago, somebody from Shanghai, you know, a very ambitious girl, and I think she's fantastic. She worked on Entropy Place space for you know, anti-pollution, environmental protection, etc. And so I said the first thing, you should go for the Forbes 30 under 30. So tell all the you know, very ambitious young Gen Zs out there, how competitive is the process, and once you get there, what does that badge of honor really mean to you? How does that change your life? Do you learn from each other? You know, where do you go from here?
I think that the recognition is definitely good, but it really didn't come across to us or me that this it is important now that I have it, of course, but before that it really is about doing what you know, doing what you're doing well, and then let it come to you. I don't think that the good way to do something is I hope to get an award, or the good way to create a business is to tailor it towards getting an award. You know, it's about getting your numbers correct, getting your strategy correct, and then managing your company well, or making it healthy, and then from there the good things come to you. They will find you.
You can force it, huh? It has to grow organically. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure, a lot of entrepreneurs out there all over the world, you know, people who follow us and our programs, they are eyeing at China's consumer market, and particularly post the COVID-19. I've heard more pessimistic stories than positive ones, and extremely positive ones. And they will be wondering, and perhaps wanted to pick your brains, what else do Chinese consumers, particularly women, like?
Oh, there are a lot. Actually, the whole idea is that essentially retail, right? Like I said, it should reflect what the society wants. So first, before really dwelling or diving into anything, first understand your consumer, understand the society that you're living in, and then in a more general sense, I could say that the Chinese market is very, very different from anywhere else in the world, even Singapore, from where I'm from. And the lines between online and offline channels in China are starting to blur. the people, we take ideas from everywhere, from our own Chinese culture, from the Western influences, and then we give it a spin, and then make it adaptable to the Chinese market. And then the offline, even in offline retail stores, you are still scanning that QR code, and then becoming an online sort of like a community for the brands or the stores and stuff. So essentially, understanding this whole seamless integration is very, very important for people starting to get into the Chinese market. Yeah.
And it's interesting you talked about Chinese market being very different from Western market.
Mm-hmm.
Have to adapt when they enter the Chinese market. But I suppose vice versa, when you enter into international markets, don't you feel any encounter many cultural and business barriers? What is the biggest difficulty for you when you go international?
We started our US market in Q4 of 2019. I think the biggest difference was that the e-commerce infrastructure of the Western markets are just not as complete or not as efficient as the Chinese market. So from the courier deliveries to us getting our products off the port in Long Beach to somewhere in Ohio, it takes a really long time. Yeah, and it's sort of like a reverse culture shock, where you think that essentially in the Western world it should be way more efficient and faster, since the economy has been developing for a longer time, right? So, but it isn't. So yeah, so that's the difficult part. And then the rest of the stuff, you do the way you run a Tmall or Taobao store, and the way you run an Amazon store. There are elements that there are a lot of elements that are pretty similar. It's really about how you adapt to each channel's gameplay or rules. And then for offline channels, it's the same thing. Everyone wants margin, so make sure you have enough margin to go about. And then from then on, you have your whole product assortment infrastructure in play, and then your whole strategy of what stores you want to go into, where you want to go into first, and then it's about the same thing. And then for our Korean and Japanese and Australian market, we use a China-based distributor that will help us get in there. So it wasn't that much of a problem.
So with the coronavirus, have you noticed and witnessed, and are you experiencing a lot of disruption in the supply chains as well, like from factory to a consumer, and how are you impacted?
Yeah. So for February and March, essentially our entire supply chain was in disarray, or it completely almost stopped. So and we sold over our projection, right? For like I said Q1 we are like 150% over projection. So we basically ate into all our safety stock. So we expect disruptions to hit right into Labor Day holidays. We are slowly getting back on track. All the factories are already open as we speak now. Yeah, and April is like a sort of a recovery month for most consumer brands in China, at least those that I've spoken to so far. So if you can
so
recover
it's good to
April,
know that you will weather the storm, right? Because for such a young business like you, this is really a make or break moment. There are not so many, have this cash flow and this, safety net as well. So you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, and I think that the way we do stuff here in our office is very systematic. Maybe it's a Singaporean in me, I don't know. So we always have like a plan B, plan C, and sort of like contingency stuff in place. So like I said, we had a safety stock reserve for cases like this. We almost depleted it, but we are still healthy in that sense. So it wasn't that much of a problem. But also, our supply chain, they are going crazy this month because they have to go everywhere. We have factories maybe in Henan province, in Dongguan. It's all over the country, and China is huge, as everyone knows. So they are all over the place this month, trying to get everything back on track. Yeah.
How do you, the other day, Martina and I also had an interview with Lu Jian, President Jian from LinkedIn China. And so he said, well, we're starting a mentorship program for LinkedIn China. Essentially, he thinks that this online mentoring is very important. And I guess for entrepreneurs, you are entering into the unknown. But if everything is known path, then there is no need for an entrepreneur. And so if you're dealing with many, many uncertainties, you learn from somebody, right? Who are your idols? Like, who are your sources of inspiration, and who do you reach out when you are really lonely and you feel lost?
I think that the good thing is that the support structure we have, because we are all college mates. How to put this? Okay, so in a brand, right, there are 4 different pillars to it. One is product, and then there's supply chain, there's marketing, and then there's sales and strategy. So the 4 of us, each one of us handles one thing, which is our expertise. So from there, we sort of support each other. We've been doing that since day one. Yeah.
But do you have a role model, a source of inspiration, someone like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, someone you like?
Yeah, do you aspire to talk to perhaps one of those guys one day? You know, if you one day say, tomorrow Donald is going to have lunch with X, who would
Bernard Arnault.
Sorry?
Bernard Arnault, LVMH.
Okay, why?
Yeah. I think that the way of they built a brand to have such longevity and to be able to transition, weather different periods of time and economic crisis and that sort of thing. I think it's pretty inspirational, where it essentially it's almost recession proof. It transcends everything, and then to be able to manage a portfolio of giant companies to such a synergy is something that it's not easily replicable, and because we're in the consumer industry, right? So it's something that we always try to look at their playbook, what they are doing correctly, try to analyze. Obviously, you cannot copy them, but you try to take elements or stuff that you can learn, and then try to implement it.
Donald, what you could do, what would be the logical next step, is to team up with LVMH or Gucci or Louis Vuitton to sell your pet products as well. That would be an idea.
We are definitely receptive of that.
That's wonderful. And maybe I think even more, what I'm personally looking forward to is perhaps who knows, in 5 or 10 years time, Donald is going to be ranked alongside the names of LVMH, and maybe you will become the Chinese version. Who knows, right? For the world.
Hopefully, right?
I think we are on the right track.